I've been doing this over 40 years. So.
Ooh, respect the technique.
When we started doing it, network was CBS, ABC, and NBC.
Oh, my.
When I joined the Corps, we didn't have any fancy schmancy tanks. We had sticks, 2 sticks and a rock for a whole platoon, and we had to share the rock.
On this episode, we discuss hidden costs, single pane of glass, and awards. All that and more on EDTech. EDTech episode 140, Human Laminate. Hello, AV friends, and welcome to another episode of EDTech. As always, we have our panel of awesome higher ed AV professionals, Ernie Bailey. Hey, Ernie.
Hey, Aaron. Good to see you again.
Yeah, and Rob Raspberry.
Always happy to be here, Aaron.
And we have a new member to the regular EdTech crew, Lyle Waldron. Hey, Lyle.
It's Lyle. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. Hi, everybody. It's Lyle. What's good? How are we living?
Super glad to have you as part of our crew. And today's special guest joining us for this episode is Charity Ann Caldwell from the University of Illinois, Chicago. Welcome, Charity.
There you go. That's the right one. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. Nice to see everybody.
Yeah. So how about we start off by you telling us a little bit about what you do over there?
So I am the Director of IT Operations and Services. So I oversee AV and desktop support and the help desk, and also the dev group, small but mighty dev group. And that's a sort of recent shift this year from a CIO structure to like a dual director structure. And we're in an interim state right now. And so that is, we're interviewing, just a lot of changes are happening as we're also trying to onboard like a major sort of curricular management platform, which has been just a massive shift also on the academic side. So there are just so many moving parts this year in the College of Medicine. And it's been a real learning experience, but also maybe fun isn't quite the right word, but a lot of trauma bonding around these big projects and that kind of stuff. So I think we're becoming an even tighter team, which is great.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I absolutely appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be on this episode with us.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. So let's jump right into the articles that we read for this episode. The first one is on AVNation.tv, The Hidden Cost of Unreliable Classroom AV. And this was written by Tim Albright. So, there was definitely some very interesting data that came out of the study that was done for this. How can we best leverage studies like this to talk about the importance of technology?
Well, Aaron, I'll start out. I think, anything like this that has good numbers and is done by an independent organization such as AVIXA, it's just something to put in front of our leadership and say, here's why we do what we do. Here's why our budgets look like what they do and why we try to keep things maintained. One thing that's not really in this article that we point out quite often is, we have a certain amount of space, and if technology fails, we lose a class a lot of times, and that is very expensive, especially, Charity and I are both in medical education. And what I tell my guys when they're, trying to get these things fixed, or they're looking at rooms that may be having problems, remember in 20 years, these people are going to be providing your health care. Do you want them to miss that one lecture that you needed? So it's very, it's important to get, for the students to get the information, for the instructors to be able to share their knowledge. And it's our job as technology managers to keep the equipment working, to make the rooms functional, and have the tech support available when they need it.
I have an inordinate bias here. This has been mentioned before. I am currently working on my PhD, and this is effectively my area of research focus. I think the good news is, as Ernie said, we have the data, we can carry this forward. I think for me, this is bigger than some classrooms. The way I have seen this, if you look at the emergence of quite a few technological items between things like AI, which can now give personalized education. I mean, my experience and how I have been using AI coupled with instruction by itself is a story I could tell. With funding and how funding has fallen precipitously. And I want to say for y'all, because funding for us fell in '08 with the financial crisis and the petrodollar falling. We've never recovered as internationals. Most of us have declining population rates, and we don't recognize that for a university, but it means that our core catchment pool of kids, there are less of them, but they're the same number of us as HEIs. So that pizza pie ratio gets worse. I actually see this fundamentally at its core as a matter of sustainability for the higher education institution. And I know that sounds extreme in a crazy sense, but the domain of our technology enhanced learning spaces is still the most visible front facing element, I think, of our technology operation as it goes. There's some things not at a utilitarian. We expect Wi-Fi. Matter of fact, some schools expect to have some level of AI integration. Technology is across the board, but whether med school, business school, or anything in between, we still see those classrooms as that kind of domain where all of our technology action happens. And for me, which is why I'm doing this PhD and taking this on as a research item, I've seen this in that more existential tone. And I think surveys like this will help on the technical side, primarily because, let's be fair, our administrators care not for our technical mumbo jumbo. This does a very good job, Uni, as you said, of baselining it to say, hey, listen, when this happens. You're going to lose money, 25%, 30%, 53%. Great. But what happens when we perhaps, hopefully, I hope to contribute to human knowledge like this, Aaron, explain to them that, listen, this is more than just losing a couple of students. You may not have a university if we don't figure this out, right? And get ourselves in that conversation just beyond CapEx and OpEx and whether it's AR or VR tomorrow, because the third day is going to be something else that we haven't thought about that some tech somebody's going to bring to us.
So this is sort of interesting they brought this up because, in fact, last year we had an outage in one of our larger classrooms, and I was talking with a couple of our techs. And one of my guys is like a numbers guy. And so he basically said, oh, well, if the student's paying about $60K per year, it's about $16K per quarter, 3 to 4 classes, costs about $333 per credit, blah, blah, blah. Went down to it. And basically he sort of came up with this figure that if there's an outage roundabouts for 15 minutes, you're losing over 10 grand in money, across the university, not individually or by a class, but you get a lot of those. That's a significant number, which leads into what Lyle said. You're losing productivity, using students. You may not have a university. So that is an amazing, I've loved this article. I mean, I liked him anyway. I'm going to pay him the $50 after this podcast is over. But so jumping to a sort of a different thing, the laminate comment just sort of blew me away because, we're sitting here saying, okay, we're putting it down there so you know how to use that room. And the take is, well, if you have to put it down to get somebody to learn how to use the room, you're losing time, you're losing productivity. I thought that was sort of mind-blowing. But at the same time, Tim, you got to understand there's some people that they got to have that kind of thing somewhere in there. But overall, that comment was amazing and, well written. That was amazing.
God forbid I laud Tim again, but yeah, you're right on the Tim stuff. Sorry, Charity, jump right in.
No, it was a good comment, but I reflecting on it, I feel a little bit between a rock and a hard place, right? Because the flip side of that is that everybody wants every room to do everything under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, nobody is going to know how to do everything under the sun except for the AV tech. And so if you want to be able to connect your laptop to Zoom, you have to do this. If you want to use the built-in machine for Zoom, you want to do this. And if you want to flip cameras, how do you do that? Right? And then if you don't have that functionality, well, then it's, why can't you do this? Yep. Right? And then, well, okay, so which...
We'd all love to have the magic wand to make the, systems that can do everything with the touch of the button, but that simplification in automation tends to then up the amount that it costs to do the things. And so, there's definitely a balancing act.
And if it is that simple where it sort of like can do, 50 things at the touch of a button, then you're locked into that one configuration of those 50 things. And then when somebody says, well, why can't the camera move? Well, then I have to add that functionality, and then I have to teach you how to do that.
Unusual in my spectrum brain, I'm going to be the outlier here. So since I started Charity, having to do how to design classrooms on a budget from the EDTech days through now to the HETMA days, I don't want to let too much out the bag because I am doing a session for a VIXA at Infocom this year. Go register. HETMA's got a code. What I have often had to advise, in particular North American universities, where I know it feels like Charity, you don't have enough budgets, but trust me, it's at least 13 to 15 times my budget, is that I think there is a way that we can, not holy grail, accomplish all. Please don't hear that lofty goal. But I've made a recommendation for the past 10 years. Every presentation, workshop, we all should read Don Norman's The Art of Design. It's this yellow covered book with this weird looking kettle on it. I call it my AV Bible because it addresses a lot of these things that we're discussing here in the house and the whatnot. I'm actually with Tim on this, and not because Tim is one of those brains I would love to download into my head as I look only through the lens of experience. But I think the broader point is we can find a way to design our way through things and front load that cognitive load somewhere in a processor. I think it can be done. The how, I have some ways. I have to send a shout out to Carrie in SUNY Downstate in New York. He's found some really cool UI ways to do it. But to be fair, we both come from this Caribbean background of not having anything and using very interesting methods that have to be fiscally sustainable, equipment sustainable, because our AOL cycles are ridiculous. But just to put this back to the front end user, I am 100% in the camp of, and this is, mind you, a team argument for Nisha and myself in particular, right? Just Mike Tyson boxing put us in the corners. Nisha is the laminate on the wall. I am the, it don't work, take it off. If that is the case, we're doing something wrong. I think even she would concede at this point, for all of the printouts that I have said, you know what, let's try it your way first. She still gets as many ticketed calls, if not more. Because the primary thing, Charity, that's on that laminate is everybody's cell number. So right. You'd be surprised, right? How this is the bane of my personal existence. But I think there are ways we can, in different fora, obviously, HETMA's Education Summit being a great one, where we could get together, network, swap ideas, and see, what works in some places that may work in other places, and figure out ways to do this in, I think, a sustainable way, addressing all of Tim's. I love that laminate thing more than y'all. I think y'all realize how much I'm a anti-laminate team, right? So I think it could be done. I just want to put that out there. Somebody's going to be in the comments going, no, it can't. We need the laminate. Well, okay, fine.
Well, I agree with the ideology of this. I think in a perfect classroom, an instructor walks in and they don't have to do anything. Everything works. They don't have to. But guess what? We are not in a perfect world, and we are not in an unlimited budget world. So that's where the, that middle ground has to happen. I agree. If everything worked, it's great, but we have people who just don't. Some of the most brilliant instructors in the world don't know how to turn on a computer.
Techno anti-persons. But let me leave it with this, because I say okay. I have too much stake in here, right? I can just go on this way all alone. Let me put this to you. Do you think you have more of a budgetary crisis than we do? And do you think that you have a more perfect or a less perfect situation than we do? My point being that if we can, I think we all can to some degree. And I want to be super fair on that, because you may have that one person who just needs to retire. Right? That's it. Yeah. Right. Blink 3 times if that is true.
Just retired.
Oh, there you go. Who shall now ascend Ernie to take the ring from Mordor in their place? Because there's always another one.
There is, but yeah. And, we kind of worked our way around that in that, we do all of our own integration. So we got one guy writing the programs, or one team, And we have tried to simplify the program down. We've also noticed that, like Charity said, everybody wants the rooms to do everything. But if you go back and look at their I gotta have list, they're not that different from one to the next. So we took what is about 80 to 90% of the requests that are on every one, and we designed a basic classroom.
There you
And
go.
we're putting that in every room. And it's designed, no matter which room you go into, the buttons are going to be exactly the same, whatever you're doing. And it's very simple. So we could get rid of the laminate sheet. The instructions are on the touch screen. As you push here to show your computer, you push here to show the built-in computer, and here's the volume control. And if you're in if you've made a Zoom call, camera controls are down at the bottom where you hit a button and you can move the cameras. And every one of them have a button that will call our help desk. So you can get, they can get help. And if someone tells us ahead of time they need to do something outside the box that we've pretty much created, our systems are designed where we can manually go in from the backside and make almost anything happen.
Yep.
If they tell us beforehand what they're wanting to do, and then we shut down the system, restore it, and it's back for the next instructor to where it's always been. So
Interesting.
it's taken several years to get to that point, and right now we're rolling out multiple rooms every semester, trying to get as many of them as possible into this format.
Yeah, I think everybody, and to be honest, is anti-laminate, so to speak, as far as, that's what we want. And Ernie, those examples are great, or even put a bit of a help screen on your touch panel and get rid of the laminate.
Right.
I think we all want our instructors to be able to teach rather than worry about the technology.
Exactly.
And so, we always want to move towards that. And I guess you're ahead of the game on that, aren't you? Which is great. Yeah.
I've been around longer than the rest of you.
Yeah, well,
Ernie gets my vote. Ernie's on team no laminate. Bigly.
I confess we don't actually have laminates in we've got maybe 2 rooms that have laminates that were created by that are sort of farther afield, not by boat, but they're a few blocks away from the main campus anyway. But in general, we do not. Anything that's got, like a Crestron or a QSYS touch panel with icons, we let people fly on their own. Mostly it works well. We provide a walkthrough service in advance if somebody wants to. It's a lot of knowledge sharing, and the idea is that we've got maybe 4 technology footprints of rooms. So out of our 60 rooms, you're going to walk into one of 4 spaces, basically. So there's that predictability that Ernie's talking about too. But I do wonder sometimes if we're meeting people and teaching them, is that the same thing as not having laminate?
No, it's
or are we
laminate.
Just doing a verbal laminate?
You're right. It's human laminate.
You know what I mean?
It's human laminate.
I think that's what it is the thing. So for the spaces where there you have the choice of 2 cameras and you can move them, and you've got 6 mics to choose from, and blah 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 blah. Those kinds of spaces, we do a human laminate.
I think, and this will be my last throw in, because listen, Tim again, shout out to Tim. Here he goes again, pushing everybody's buttons in higher education, just one button at a time. Right? I think there is sometimes a human contact side of this, which is actually not laminate, because it's just the human social, don't be afraid. I've had times when it's me walking in the room with, Charity at 88, on her final contract, and it's like, all right, Charity, you touch your touch screen. Like, I'm not doing anything other than being physically there with my 6'6" stature, letting you know it's okay. Nothing's going to happen. As opposed to, was it a design thing, a UI thing, my steps weren't right, the interface, none of those things. They just didn't even want to touch. But suppose it breaks. And I go, it's supposed to break. That's what, if you broke it while we're using it for teaching, then I have to figure out and I have to get into that. And it's comfort. As much as I'm
100%.
Yeah, I have to run 10 campuses, 2 islands, 240 classrooms. I've got a staff contingent of 3. Right? Ernie is like, the programmer, the this, the that. I'm like, me, and me. Right? So exactly. So you then, Rob, get some context as to one, why I'm so passionate about this, and two, why I've had to make this work. The fact that I still have a job says in some way, shape, or form, to some percentile, because I'm a hard grader of self, it's nowhere near what I want it to be. But to some percentile, and I've done this since the EDTech days, I can prove to you we can find a way. We need to touch on half of them already. Standardization, this, that, the other, whatever is the case. So come to InfoComm, folks. Register between Avixa and HETMA. We're gonna have.
It'll be a great lecture. Great lecture. Yeah, we're all in the same boat, in agreement on the way that this should work and the way we're getting it to work. So,
shout out to Tim though. Tim, bravo, Tim, bravo.
But it's so one of the statistics that was in there was like 1 in 3 faculty members have seriously considered leaving their institution because of poor technology. That almost makes me wonder if that is more of a relationship issue than a technology issue. Yes, there is going to be tech problems, but if you have a good relationship with the people that can help you and can fix that and can make your life easier, I'm wondering how many of those people that like they have no idea what anyone from the classroom technology department even looks like because they don't interact or have those relationships. So they're just like this is always broken type.
Yeah, that's the death knell to success.
Yeah.
Good customer service and client relations are pretty key. You know, if you have your team that can go in and make the most excitable instructor calm down, everything's going to be okay. You know, they got you so they feel more comfortable. And then when they see that tech or go by them, oh, yeah, thanks for helping me in the classroom. Really appreciate that. You're right. Rather than sometimes when we deal with people who are a little deeper into the IT networking stuff, who basically do brilliant things behind the scenes, but sometimes when they're talking to people face to face, that bridge gets burned. You know, those kinds of situations could agitate an instructor to the point where they're saying, I'm out of here.
So, Aaron, for me, this is not a hypothetical. I actually have faculty who've resigned because of this.
Oh, wow.
I think there's Again, when you're on shoestring budgets, and I mean, I've been in sessions, I've had 70 people in front of me from University of Texas all the way over, it was Texas Tech, sorry, all the way over to like small schools. Like I remember there was a guy from Haskell Nations University, like from a reservation. And I have them saying shoestring budgets, and I'm standing in the front of the room, 6'6", giggling. And everybody's like, why are you laughing? I'm like, what's your number? And I'll give you mine. Let's play that. And Aaron has heard me play this game already. It's bad, right? My yearly is bad. So when you are that dire, I think there's no amount of marketing, promotion, and spin. There's no amount of customer service I can give. I have to not say the name of the program because it'll be too obvious. But I remember there was a very prestigious program we had at our university. And this lecturer had been asking for, we going on like almost a decade, to get tech into one of her spaces. Nothing too exorbitant as far as I was concerned. Box camera pointing down as well, because there was stuff they were doing. Again, I have to be very vague, because once I see these stuff, it'll, So, and it never clicked. And for me, I'm aligning it to, I remember when I was a wee pup, Ernie, talking about our experience convo before, I did not know how to get to reach faculty and upper administration. These were people with PhDs that just did not listen to you unless you had a PhD. I remember working on my associate's degree at night school at the time, trying to figure out, how do I get these people to believe me? Oh, trust me, Aaron, you know the tired version of me. This was young me when I had energy. Imagine that. I decided to do some research and publish a paper because I'm like, that's the shortest path to getting academic acceptance. And I did a paper called Technology-Oriented or Learning-Driven. One of the problems we have here sometimes is, we give them all these wonderful whiz-bang things and it's QSIS that or it's Crestron the other, and they don't care. And more often than not, they were not a part of the process. Nobody came to them and said, hey, we have some money. We want to do something. Talk to me about your teaching so that I can design, back to Norman, I can design something around your teaching. One of the problems I've seen, and I'm treading into dangerous waters, for my North American colleagues, because you all had so much more budget at the time, you all got to do these fantastic rooms with these multiple switcher thingies and 10 projectors, and a lecturer walks in and goes, all right, where do I begin? And yes, now we need the laminate. Now we need charity and the customers. No, but we kind of engineered ourselves into a problem that we're now trying to find something else to solve. So I've had this happen to me directly. I've seen budgets affect faculty. This is not for me some number in Tim's article. And I just can't help but think to myself, if they're a part of the process, it helps what you said, Erin, because they now know the classroom development team. If we've designed the tech to their teaching, then it also, Charity and Rob, addresses some of those, get them to use it without having laminate or human laminates. And this is a huge topic with so many strings in it. But there are ways that we can, and that is very real. You will lose students because of this. You will lose faculty out of frustration. I just can't get to my students because now technology is not my facilitator, it's my barrier. What do we do at that point? Because the problem is not us. The problem at the time was not the budget. We took $100,000 and we gave them this thing, but so again, in the corridors of Infocom, people, I'll be in Vegas in June. The show goes on. We can have this deep discussion. This is a deep one.
All right. So, we put in all this technology. We want to keep an eye on it. So that leads us into our kind of next piece that's on AV Buyers Club, written by Steph Beckett. Audinate launches Dante Director Professional for remote management of large AV networks. So, at ISE recently, one of the themes was like everybody having their own software. Like, what is the best way to manage these multiple software monitoring platforms?
Just get one.
Just one pane of glass.
One to rule them all.
Yes.
I mean, that's the dream, right?
I know
That's
it
the
is. I
dream.
know.
The single pane of glass. Yes.
Other than writing your own, making your homegrown, like
A lot of Splunk action, getting the logs.
Funny you said that.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hate this. Secret out of the bag. Just between the five of us, I guess. We're just talking amongst friends.
Yeah, nobody else is going to
Five
see
of us.
it.
Nobody else is listening, right?
Listening.
Hell, nobody. But I intend to do exactly that. I just vibe coded two applications that are completely, totally insecure, I'm sure, but they are residing on LAN only. Like Charity's immediately like, no. Yeah, I did.
He's got to do this.
Right? Thank God for Node. And I said to myself, you know what? We've had this discussion so many times in so many forums. This is never going to happen in our holy grail. We need this thing to be extremely cost effective. I can't have like a SaaS platform that is it's too much. Again, for me, my budget's zero. So it needs to be cheap, not cost effective. And there's some basic things I need. And I mean, like I could put this out to y'all. What do we need from a management platform? I need Heartbeat, so I need to know the thing is up and running. We could always tie Heartbeat to some automation of like an email or something saying this thing's down in this space. So I need Heartbeat, maybe with displays, life, like things like bulb life, if you're still using bulbs, is important. But if we really get to the core of what we're looking for as a pane of glass, it's not really that much. At its core. I'm not saying that we don't like all the extreme bells and whistles and all the reports we could generate. We're going to have to do this ourselves. Shout out to Jason and his team at FIU. I've seen them do some crazy stuff over the years. The UCF guys have done a ton of stuff over the years that have been bespoke. I have been an outspoken person against bespoke software, but we're in a different age. I'm in a totally different age where Claude Code may get me across the line. And I have started investigating it to see, what would be the best frameworks, the this, the that, the whatever is the case. And I'm hoping by the end of the year, I'm going to have a pane of glass that could tell me what's on and what's off. And for now, that's where I'll start. And then I'll get a module up for those bulb things. And I'll come back to the team and find out what Nisha and Wendell and the guys need. And I keep adding to it and call that George. To answer the question for this question specifically, thanks, Dante, but it's a 0 for me. Because the other thing all of these commercial panes are doing, Charity, is they're in effect saying, listen, if you were to manage all your stuff with us, because all your stuff was with us, it'll be better for you. So I've heard people go, well, we're doing more Zoom rooms now because the Zoom platform is great to manage as a single pane of glass. It is, but that means I have to have 240 Zoom room licenses. Or Crush Strikes there, nope.
The licensing piece is the. I mean, we have.
Yeah.
Full disclosure about that licensing piece are all of our content sharing devices. Almost all of them have a lapsed license, and they work locally, and that's good enough because it's so the price of the licensing just got insane,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get used enough in my context to make it worth. We put these in, people didn't really use them, and so when it came time to renew the license, I was like, you know what, you can share locally to it, and if you do that, then we'll consider getting licenses in the future, maybe. But I've got 60 unlicensed devices, probably, or lapsed licensed devices.
Oh no, Aaron!
I didn't name the device.
This is well
That's
within the operation of Zoom. Zoom doesn't care because guess what? If you're using not so much unlicensed, you're using it locally, you're not using something else, are you? And this goes back to that pane of glass convo. So like, okay, Dante, thanks, but I'm not now going to switch my entire AV infrastructure solely to Dante as a AV over IP situation just so that I can use your pane of glass to manage it. This is where we are with everybody. Save like a couple of people who are like third party, whatever, but they're now hella expensive because for them to get access and entry to everybody, Crestron, Extron, QSys, to play nicely, it just doesn't happen there. So for me, I read it, I'm like, okay, cool, nice, thanks, bye.
Yeah, and I guess it's funny because when you think of Dante, you sort of think of Audinate. They sort of, they're like so close together. I mean, that's what you think. Oh, they're the originator, so this has got to be fantastic. Yeah. And then they also are, switching over a little bit on the video side and the control side. So, I mean, hey, if you've got the bucks, go for it. Makes sense. But a lot of us,
Yeah. But, I mean, we're kind of in between in that we're in the process of developing our own single pane of glass management system. Lyle, I'll be happy to share with you what we've got. But we're also looking for things like this that, if I can fit this in my budget, it's got API hooks so we can pull this into our single pane of glass, the information that we want. And then we're also looking at the other side. We talked several months ago about Excite. And, while it's a more expensive platform, it tries to bring them all together. And, we're seeing how we can leverage multiple pieces like this. Which ones do we have to pay for? Which ones can we get for free and make work within our own? And what do we actually need? So we run the free trials. We say, this one's worth doing a budget request, budget revision to get this added to the campus. This one's not, but it has some free features that are available that can give us the information that we need. So do evaluation of each one of them. And, if you can develop your own and it gives you the heartbeat and the different pieces of information you have. We've got some tools that have good API connections that we're able to bring in. We put a PoE injector in every one of our systems as opposed to using the network switch to generate PoE because we can now control all of it. And the PoE injector we has an API. We can go into individual channels with a single click, reboot a device that's PoE. And it's amazing. It speeds up our time to be able to service classrooms.
Recovery and it's one of my
find the things that you need to control and find a way to do it.
It's one of my standards. Everything has to be IP controllable. Everything, every outlet from a power protection. Because again, I have 3 techs and 240 classrooms. And that means I have to. Aaron's like, this needs a physical reboot. We're not 4 hours flying away, right? I can't go through. So I kind of need to remote into that. So again, Uni, you've been looking at my cheat sheets, haven't you, Uni? I'm like.
Wow, you might be looking at his. Wait a minute now. He's got more gray hair, so.
Okay. Yo. I'm getting there.
I've been doing this over 40 years. So.
Ooh, respect the technique.
When we started doing it, network was CBS, ABC, and NBC.
Oh, my. ThinNet was my first network. I remember using some Apple Power PCs or something, back Quadras or something like that.
Yeah.
That ThinNet coax cable. Oh gosh, don't carry me back. I'm sure.
No public television, Artie?
Well, we had PBS as well,
Okay.
Oh, shout out to PBS.
but it was new.
There you go.
Well, all right. So then this last one comes to us from AV Magazine on avinteractive.com. The AV Awards America's winners have now been unveiled. And if you hadn't heard, HETMA was a winner.
Yes.
We won the first, we're part of the first ever group of winners. We won Best DEI Program for our Prism Scholarship. So yeah, super exciting. But how important are awards and accolades like this for international growth and community building?
Well, when you think about it, I mean, the word of mouth of an award, can get out there faster internationally than just say if you know peers or this, even though you can go more into depth. So, I mean, I think internationally and globally, it gives you a reference of maybe this is a good product. Maybe I should look into it. Even if you don't use it, it starts to get you thinking, okay, so this won an award. Maybe I should take a look at it, see what's going on, find out what HETMA's about, see what, and get the ball rolling. And it's something that is, what is the word I'm looking for? Without boundaries, so to speak, maybe. I mean,
And I never really, you see these awards out there, and sometimes it seems like, maybe they're just, people are playing favorites or whatnot. But to actually have, honestly, I was the one who put us up for the award, and filling out the application for it, it was no joke. Like, there was a lot that went into my entry for this. So, glad
It worked out in the end. It worked out in the end.
It made it absolutely worth it. But yeah, and having awards, it certainly feels like it gives legitimacy almost
Yes.
to what we're trying to do.
Yes.
It's great to be able to say, we're making all these efforts to do the things, but to actually have it be recognized by an outside entity that, we're doing the thing. It feels really good.
Putting my HETMA biases aside, because I'm literally drinking coffee out of a HETMA cup, I think as the international voice here, with the weird accent for people who are first-time listeners, I would like to believe I'm kind of testament that HETMA has been doing exactly that. I think HETMA's space that it's filled is unique, but the way in which it's filled it is even more unique. To understand that HETMA right now perhaps is one of the loudest voices really demonstrating what diversity looks like. And even in this podcast, allowing this kid, who's not a kid anymore, I'll stop it, from the Caribbean to weigh in for a charity and a Rob and a Uni, and then we get to all share notes. And maybe, just maybe, my experience with being underfunded could help charity with her experience with her funding going down in some places. That level of diversity, making things better, making things more equitable, to me, is really where HETMA has shined and gotten the work done. But when you get an award for it, it means that somebody else looked at you and said, oh, you are doing this thing. And yeah, it helps. It does legitimize it. But at a minimum, psychologically, Aaron, go, Madam President, go. It lets you know you're not just toiling in the dark, taking hours out of your 24 to do this thing just for the cause and the belief in it, but because somebody else can also look at it and go, Aaron, go, without you even realizing it. So I saw the award and I felt, I know I've been very HETMA quiet in the past year, blame the PhD people, but I felt like, I was like, yes, another one for the team. Well done, kind of, it was great. It was great to see. And I have no expectation other than HETMA continues to expand and professionalize what it's like to be a technology manager and redefine that definition and the space. I expect there'll be many more awards, Madam President.
But in speaking of awards, at Infocom, there is the Higher Ed AV Awards, and which if you go to higheredav.awards.com, and the nominations are open for this year's awards. So be sure to head on over there and nominate your favorite people, your projects, and whatnot, and encourage your manufacturer integrator partners to submit things also. And I hope that we can, and also you can apply to be a judge if you're interested in helping select this year's winners. Because there's, it's always fun to get to see what's out there and what people are doing.
You all definitely go hard on that awards night.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, gotta have a gimmick. Gotta, the green carpet will be a pre-event. Will absolutely be happening again.
HETMA goes hard, period. I'm coming from the capital. I can't keep up. I can't do it. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be rough. The past 2 years, I've had to take a vacation after coming out of conference. So trust me, ain't no way.
Charity Ann, in case anybody wants to reach out to you after this episode airs, how might they get in touch with you?
I am on LinkedIn, and that is a fine place to find me. And I'll see you at InfoComm.
Fantastic. And how about you, Ernie?
LinkedIn is also the best place to find me.
And Rob?
3 times is a charm. LinkedIn.
How about you, Lyle?
The outlier is here, people. Just call me, 868-683-2442. That is my legit personal number. iMessage, FaceTime audio, or like WhatsApp or whatever. Those are the platforms you're going to get me on. Just give me a call. Let's do this old school. Let's be human. Let's connect.
All righty. And as for me, you can find me on LinkedIn, on the HETMA community, and each month here on AVNation's EdTech podcast that can be found on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find other AVNation podcasts like AV Career Mastermind, Women in AV, or State of Control, and more, all there where you get your podcasts. So see you next time.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Hey listeners, it's your AV sneakerhead, Jennifer Weaver. Listen to AV Career Masterminds, where I chat all things job-related in the audio-visual industry. You can find AV Career Masterminds where you subscribe to podcasts.